What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Everybody, happy Saturday of Resurrection Weekend. If you observe that, we do. He is alive. He is risen. Also, if you are in ATL, happy 404 day. Go out, turn up, play your favorite music from Atlanta natives, from Outkast to Ti to SWB to everything in between. And I have with me none other than my broham, Kinston Henderson. And if you share the national holiday of April 7th coming up in a couple of days, my bro has a birthday. What's going on, sir?
How you doing, bro? How you doing? It's a
Good,
good
good.
day. It's a good day to be alive, man.
A very good day, indeed. And man, have we done one of these in the new year?
And no,
I don't think we,
it's probably been almost 2 years that we've been on the same camera. So
bro.
I don't know how I feel about that, but I don't know.
Did you just tell a out loud lie?
I
Like
mean,
that
it's been a while. I feel like it's been at least 1.5 years since we've been on the same video screen.
1.5 years. That is wow. That is a
I think. I don't know.
fabrication of epic proportions. But it's all good. It's all good, man. But we're here for a special moment at the top of Q2 of the year. So happy quarter two, happy real beginning of the year for those who the controversy of where the new year starts, and all those good things. But there's something that's been happening, and when I reached out to Kinston a couple of days ago, uh, it was just things that I've been talking about with coaching clients, with actual training clients, and just conversations I've been having all semester with my students and just various um, folks. And this conversation of emotional intelligence, or are people emotionally illiterate? Because emotional intelligence has become again a part of the band of things that organizations want training on. They want information on, but I'm really coming to the understanding that it's easy to teach, but is also becoming one of those leader things that's hard to practice, particularly if you don't get the self awareness and the self regulation part down pat before you try to lead others. And it even showed up last night in the Final Four. Everything
Mm, it did.
with the exchange about and what it happens when we're in activation. Shout out to Lodestar Consulting and my trauma informed professional coaching journey of understanding. Again, it is the activation, not the trigger, that people sit in. And if you do not have the skills to navigate out of it, you will make whatever you're feeling the main character. And last night, I mean, it was front and center. You have a coach who has been coaching for 40 plus years, made themselves the main character
The
about a
main
hand,
character.
about protocol. And really, was it about that, or was it about the fact that y'all lost and it's
Yeah.
okay for you to
Yeah.
lose, but you made yourself the bigger story than the fact that your team played amazing, your team played scrappy, and they fell short. And that
Mm,
happens. And so again, what did you model? Was that your
yeah.
intention to model what you did? And Don Staley, in her ability to regulate and keep it about the team, keep it about the scrappy win, acknowledge what happened, and then come back to the very point that he has risen. So Kinston, as
That's
before we get into it,
Listen,
um,
we got to talk about that.
yeah, any
Uh,
thoughts on that? Yeah.
I mean, it's just many thoughts, and as we're talking about this topic right here, when we talk about the first steps to even emotional intelligence or to anything new, it is that awareness that, and for leaders is about that self awareness. Are you self aware of your emotions in the moment? And I know with sports, especially sports, I mean, it could be high emotions all the time, but again, you said it, like for 40 years you've been doing this, And so, but have you been doing the work to make sure that you are self-regulating in these high intense moments?
Hmm.
And you can't tell me he hasn't been in any of these high intense moments where he could have learned from before displaying on national television that he really didn't have the self-awareness to be able to navigate, or he did and he chose not to, because we know that is a thing as well. Is I know what to do, but I just didn't do it.
Yeah, yeah. No, and what you point to, bro, is this very real reality for a lot of folks, and we find it in business. And thinking about again, emotional intelligence, oftentimes, like the topic of leadership, like anything else, it gets talked about kind of in very programmatic ways. And one of the biggest things that I'm thinking about is it's the operational practice of emotional illiteracy. And I have a question for you. And what are your thoughts about emotional illiteracy being one of the most overlooked leadership liabilities today?
I mean, I think as a leader, I mean, as you're growing, as you're on your career path, you to be emotional illiterate it just really seems to me there's a lack or desire to become literate. I mean, I think after a certain stage, you're saying I'm unwilling to recognize my emotions. I'm unwilling to recognize how I show up, and that's where it's willfully ignorance of because now I really don't care how I show up, and then people get the repercussions of that. They get the benefits, the lack of benefits for showing up just like that. And so I'm saying to myself, I'm going to react uh, regardless of how I feel or how you feel, right? So I'm not even taking into consideration you. It's all about me. I'm taking things personally instead of processing them professionally. I'm
Mhm.
speaking to be right instead of speaking to be understood, and I know that, and I still don't care. I'm going to be willfully ignorant towards emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's the bigger part of where you hit on that my willingness to stay in the wrong of how I'm feeling. And this
Yeah,
oftentimes from a leader perspective, and it be why it's a liability, is that tendency is to hide behind results, authority, experience, intellect, which
yeah,
again, man, I can't, if there's a real-time model of it, it was last night. Like all of those things were
yeah,
those got put front and center. And a
yeah,
leader, and again, you could be strategic, you could be decisive, you could be highly competent. And if you can't recognize the impact of your emotions regulating themselves, or you respond well to emotional realities of, again, yourself and others, then you eventually start walking down that path of eroding trust. And we all
yeah,
know, like, once trust is damaged, that hurts alignment, that hurts engagement, and accountability begins to break itself down. So, all that expertise, all that strategy, all that competency you spent all that time building begins to break down in the face of the very real experience that, man, I respect you and I also experience you in a very disrespectful way. And again, this is not to say don't feel, it's just also you need to model accountability. When
yeah,
you don't have an interaction the way that it actually can build relationship with others. And so a part of
yeah,
this also is, again, just the emotional literacy. It doesn't just affect feelings, it affects the bigger C of this conversation, culture.
yeah,
And when culture begins to be impacted by how you're being, and again, your Kinston, you hit the when you're being willfully ignorant, like
yeah,
I am choosing to walk that path. That to me also speaks to you operating in a level of privilege that would it be okay for somebody to reciprocate that back to you.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, and you're talking, and I think we have to, talk to those who are listening or who's watching this segment to say, have you ever had a moment where you missed the mark, where you were emotionally unintelligent, and if you will, and you may have did something that would happen with the UConn game in South Carolina. Again, shout out to the Gamecocks. But have you had one of those moments? And if you have, that's okay. You're human. But how have you even responded once that situation occurred? Right? We always going to have stimulus. We always going to have stimulus, but it's how you respond, not how you react. And so, are you choosing to say, you know what, I reacted to that the last time this took place, but how will I respond? Because I understand and know that I do care about myself and then the people around me, and making sure that they are well. I do care about the culture of within my organization. I do care about my leaders who I serve. Right? Are you open to it? Because if you're not, like Lawrence said, Dr. Henderson said that we didn't done the studies, we didn't done the research, the work that shows that number one thing of trust. We can just stop right there. Once trust is gone, like we talking about it, even if we had to explore the UConn game, what is the cost of that explosion, that reaction? What is the cost? Because there's a cost that's associated to it. I mean, we got this transfer portal that's wide open, and these players are not playing. They are jumping as quick as they can out of schools where trust is when trust is lost.
Yeah.
Same thing in the workplace. People are jumping ship as soon as that trust, as soon as they see that writing on the wall from even a past or previous leader who didn't went off on them, and they a full grown adult. They're not gonna stay there.
Yeah. Well, and Kinston, what you're already walking down a path of is in the workplace. Oftentimes, people were being promoted and are being promoted for their competence while ignoring their inability to navigate emotions well. And so, what ends up happening when you promote competence first, people realize they think that's it. They think competence got me into this leadership role, but it's the emotional intelligence that will determine whether you sustain leadership well. And if you, again, haven't built the muscles, haven't built the reps in self-awareness, in relational maturity, in emotional steadiness, then there in and of itself, competence without emotional intelligence can create high-performing dysfunction. Like, let's keep it a buck. Like, I'm smart, but I'm emotionally illiterate. What in my brain? I can't be that competent to think that we're going to continue performing at a high level of excellence. No, that's a high level of dysfunction. And again, it's like we do dysfunction well here. Said no company ever on the company website. Like the truth about what actually happens but here's the thing. Here's the thing that we have to begin unlearning, relearning is the very real reality that many organizations still reward technical ability. Yes, they still reward the person who can speak up and raise their hand, visibility. And then execution around self-awareness, around this relational currency, i.e. my study and self-determination, where this relatedness, it's all been the majority of the missing piece. Because if I'm working for you as one of your direct reports and you are just beating me over the head with how smart you are or how much, just trust me, listen to what I'm saying. First of all, you used a word that I have never experienced and we haven't developed. I don't trust you. And then now you're volunteering me to do something without relationship. And one of the things we know in trauma-informed work is connection mitigates that ongoing emotional trauma. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It like
every single time.
Operational practice of this. And again, and I love just what we did with the commentators, pulled in the sports analogy and about the two coaches. But all the things leading up to the Final Four that happened with Coach Gino, and shout out to Coach Gino, like for fighting for women's sports, fighting for equality in the workplace, and all the things that, again, he has a track record of, but also understanding the headline of this very real topic. And so, Kiss, I have a question for you. How much dysfunction in organizations is really the result of this topic of emotional illiteracy? How much dysfunction can you truly connect it? Like, let's keep it real with folks. Let's not exaggerate. How much real dysfunction is connected to it?
Like it's real. And so, as we was preparing, as I was preparing for this conversation, I did some research. And so only 31% of US employees are engaged at work. And what that translates is into people aren't disconnected from work, they're disconnected from how they're being led. Right. Another stat is managers account for 70% of the variance in team engagement, meaning the way you show up emotionally shapes everything. And so you don't lose conversations because you lack words, you lose them because you lack awareness. Again, these are solid research stats. We're training leaders how to talk, but not how to manage themselves while they talk. Only 21% of employees globally are engaged, while 62% are not engaged. That's not a skills gap. That's a leadership and emotional intelligence gap.
There it is. There it is.
Right?
There it is. And again, and what you're talking to is being honest with yourselves and your organization. Not all dysfunction starts with bad systems. A lot of it starts because you will have been trying to navigate and dealing with emotionally unhealthy behavior that gets embedded into those systems. Yeah. It's miscommunication. Kinston, disengagement, AKA, leads to avoidance.
Yep.
I see you coming up the hallway. I'm going to duck into this side office until you pass. And that's virtually and in person. I see your team's chat message. I will avoid your message until it's the last thing before I log out for the day. It's passive aggressiveness. It's defending, denying, deflecting. Anytime you ask me a question, I hear it as an indictment, or I have to litigate me being right as the employee. When, man, if as a manager you're not clocking that why is Kinston so defensive? Like, okay, that ain't a Kinston thing. Kinston is having a reaction to something. Again, trauma comes back as a reaction, not a memory. So if someone is defending themselves, you as the leader should be asking, what are they defending themselves from? Is it me? Is it leaders? Is it? And again, what this also points at is unresolved conflict. Because we got all these books about curious confrontation, like crucial conversations. Like, we got books for days. But if we don't get good at practicing how to get out in front of these things, then there will be poor accountability. There will be blame shifting. And the inability to hear hard truths is inside of this emotional illiteracy. And so when people do not know how to process what they feel, they often project it, bury it, weaponize it, or make other people carry it on their behalf, which that in of itself, I'm going to use the big T word, not the little t, toxic. And that is where it grows. Go ahead, bro.
And this is why we do the work that we do. And, even to the people that are listening and watching, those who have been placed into, manager roles or, any type of leadership roles because of your competency. Listen, I'm sorry that you didn't get equipped with the tools before you got into those roles. And therefore it creates, if you're a part of creating that toxic environment because you don't have the tools, but don't stay stuck.
There it is.
This is where we have to change the game as it relates to management and leadership. And this is where we have to deal with pride, ego, and our comfort. It's it's easy to get to these places when there's pressure. And for you who has time to watch this and listen to this, we need you to handle the pressure by again getting in touch with great coaches like Dr. Lawrence, and there's many others out there who are ready and willingly to be able to help you navigate your new normal as you lead people, because you do have to have the emotional intelligence to do that and do it well, and like quickly jump in. Do not, hey, get the funding, get the access, so that way we can come in and partner with you to make sure you are leading people at your best and not remaining stuck.
Yeah. Because so I got a question for you. And
Yeah,
I want you to stab at this one before I get into it. How do you lead people well if you do not understand yourself well?
man. I mean, now you coming down my aisle. Like self leadership is what we live by. And I'm always saying from the stage and in workshops that if you can't lead yourself well, then you won't be able to lead others well. But what do I mean by that? That comes back to this conversation of how well am I, or how much do I know about myself? How do I emotionally respond to different things versus reacting to things? Am I aware? How aware am I of my emotions, my mood? Right. I'm always saying from a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being I am emotionally aware or not so much, and then am I able to work through things myself? And this is the thing about leveling up in our leadership and our management with myself, without somebody saying like, hey, did you know you just went off on that person, or did you know that you didn't show up well in that meeting? Now I need to be checking myself throughout my conversations, and that's huge, so that way you will be able to because here's the thing, we can tell when other people are not emotionally well, but ourselves is the one that we got to look the person in the mirror in time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm always navigating how I'm doing. Even on the stage, I'm navigating what are my emotions? What is my energy? Like I can feel when things are going up and when things are going down. And then I'm able to proceed differently or the same. It just depends. But I have to be aware first.
Yeah. And what you're pointing at, Kinston, and there's this real thing of, and again, and this is the work of leadership is an inside job. And we need to
Yeah.
start with leading ourselves from the inside out. And and man, I love that you start pulling some stats in here. I got one from McKinsey Health Institute.
Yeah.
It surveyed 30,000 plus employees worldwide, and only 57% reported good holistic health. And in this report, bro, it estimates that improving employee health and well-being could generate up to 11 trillion plus dollars global economic value. Like
What?
real dollars making sense, but that 57 is too close to, we have almost half of our workplace that does not report being or feeling like they're in good holistic health. And
Yeah.
so what that leads to that, and again, there's this phrase you probably heard, it like the body keeps score.
Yeah.
And when I don't feel good, that will directly link to me not engaging
Everything.
well. And if I already myself individually don't feel well or don't feel like I'm in good health, and then I have to come to this place, not I get to come to this place, I begin to feel like I have to come here. And then I got to deal with this leader who I feel like is toxic. And again, this is how the defending, denying, deflecting, and the me
Yeah.
versus you comes up, because there's this real reality that I don't I don't feel like you have empathy for me. Well, if I'm a leader that's also in that other 43% that I feel
Hmm.
unhealthy too, I'm not actually in a position to care for you properly. And this is where the
Yeah.
coaching comes in. And this is why I love the modality of coaching as the new leader attribute. And not that I have to just sit and I have to hold office hours in a couch like I'm your therapist. No, the ability to actually hold space for another person without you being the main character in their story. And it's truly seeking to understand before being understood. That's a Stephen Covey thing. Like that's
Right.
like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Like that's one of those habits, but that all it speaks to your ability to build up that skill set so that you're engaging differently. Because again, that's these are really dollars and cents connected to the way that we engage each other. And as we begin to kind of land this plane, when again we're talking about well-being of others, again, you may be able to inspire people for a season, but understanding
Yeah.
this is an inside job. To understand self is the place we need to start, to be aware so I can build those emotional dexterity muscles so that when I'm activated by something, when I'm feeling insecure, when I have habits that aren't connected to success, I don't make it anybody else's problem. And I stay away from assumptions. I could begin to start calling myself out before somebody else has to. But even when somebody does, I'm not totally ran off the tracks, but I'm like, you know what? You're right. That's like the other day, man. I was at a board meeting, and my number two, shout out to Mallory. Mallory shot me a text, was like, "Fix your face,"
Mhm.
and all I could do was smile because I know what she was talking about. Like I
Uh-huh.
was internally activated by my stuff, and my tendency is to get quiet. My tendency
Mm.
is to back up because I feel like that's what needs to happen. I don't need to open my mouth. But here's the
Yes.
crazy part, but my body was still doing a thing.
Uh-huh.
The
Uh-huh.
picture of me was still communicating. And so
Yeah.
for us, it's again, this isn't just about, hey, you need to take a time out and go close yourself off in a room. No, as leaders, there's still a mantle and a mandate that you engage well. And so when it comes to this, what is one hard truth, Kinston, people need to hear about building emotional maturity?
Hmm. Hmm. I think it's like you just said. I mean, I think one of the biggest things that leaders and managers can do if they are open. So we're talking to people who are open to continuous development and to become even better, or even more aware. It truly is about, hey, can I have somebody in the room that can hold me accountable? And then who is it? So identify who is that person that I can have in a room that can hold me accountable as I'm engaging, whether verbally or non-verbally. You had someone in the room that you were able to, again, but the thing is, you got to highly respect them, and you're okay with them give you that hard truth, that hard feedback, that necessary feedback. If you don't respect them, you don't like receiving feedback, this won't work. But there's so much greatness in having someone in a space with you to see how you engage or not so much engage, and then they're able to talk with you afterwards of, what were you thinking about, what was going on inside, and then you become a even better leader. I always say that when having a conversation about bias and implicit bias, and I'm saying, hey, leader, if you truly want to make sure that you are creating and cultivating a healthy, inclusive environment, make sure you get a buddy in the space where you are, so that way they can help you engage well, and see how you show up, and again, allow them to be able to call you forward, or
Mm.
call you in to talk about how you did show up.
Yeah, I love that, man. And again, I love the call in and call up
Yeah.
while calling out, because again, emotional maturity. Again, this is not proving what you say when you're calm. It's revealed by how you show up when things are uncomfortable, when you're
Yeah.
challenged, when
Yeah.
feeling disappointed, and if you're wrong.
And if you're
A,
wrong.
a lot of people want the image of maturity without the practice of it.
Mm-mm.
But emotional
You will be
maturity
tested.
requires, Kinston, you already described it, ownership, reflection, regulation, some repairing of relationship, and
Yeah.
humility, and not
Yeah.
thinking less of yourself, just thinking of yourself less. If
Yeah.
your intention was not to erode trust, safety, all the things that end up happening, then have the humility to say, you know what, I messed up. I was wrong for that. And it asks you maturity, it asks you to stop making other people pay for what you haven't dealt with.
Yeah.
And this is the part. If we're really truly going to build high performing teams, don't just let it be a t-shirt slogan.
Yeah.
Practice at it. Get
Right.
good reps. Give people closest to you, that leader buddy, permission to call you out. And you're not going to carte blanche like, hey, I give everybody permission to call me out. Now, that's a level of security that the boss team we're even growing to, where people can poke me and be like, hey, man, you was a little out of pocket for that. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right. But the right person at the wrong time, it still can go left.
Yeah.
But at least you practice it well to be like, you know what, you're right. I should have checked myself. I just should have took a personal time out, go out in the hallway, do a couple Superman poses or whatever to get myself back on track, and
Yeah.
then get back into the room because people are watching. People are
Yeah.
watching. People are observing. And again,
Always.
if they don't have the relationship with you, they will make the story in their head true. And oftentimes, this is the water cooler talk. They got to share it with somebody,
Yeah.
even without it being true. They got to share
Yeah.
it with somebody, or they got to fill in the blanks because we don't have the relationship for them to actually come talk because they don't believe there'll be reciprocity in the feedback in those moments. And so we as leaders, it's our job. If we truly want our team to get better, we got to get good practice. And that's the offerings that Kinston and I have. Kinston in his winning conversations framework, ours
Yeah.
in the organizational structure and effectiveness, catalyst communication, leadership programs. We come in and we create learning environments that are the gym. They're experiential for people, and your brain get to sweating and you like discombobulated, but then we pull you back in. We teach a
Yeah.
little bit, we try a little bit, but then we debrief. What's happened? How'd you feel? And you begin to work it. And that's how training should be. It should be a
Yeah.
contact sport because leadership
Yeah.
is a contact sport. And so, hey, you perform how you practice. And if you have been
Yeah.
getting the wrong reps, it's okay. Not going to judge you, maybe a little bit, but we're not going to judge you while you're in the
Yeah.
becoming of where you're trying to grow to. And so, bro, what's one last thing you want people to know before we get out of here today?
Listen, like you said, you start going on, my lane of as far as the winning conversations is that, those are watching is that, hey, it's not that you don't know how to communicate. You know how to communicate. You just have to be more emotionally disciplined, right? You just have to normalize responding versus reacting. You just
Mhm.
have to normalize having necessary conversations, not thinking about them as hard conversations, right? It's how we package it in our heads and how we normalize what's really happening. Then we're able to engage in this healthy wellness. This wellness piece is crucial to how we respond.
Yeah.
And so I encourage those who are watching it, who are looking at this, to make sure you are checking your internal,
Mhm.
because that is what's going to come outwardly when you get poked.
Mhm. Mhm. Man, thank you for that. Yeah. And again, and don't try to do it alone.
Mhm.
And my bro said, if you're doing life alone, you're doing it all wrong. And repeat that to you. If you're doing life alone, you're doing it all wrong. And
Yeah.
in my research, what was really, really, really something that was amazing to jump out at us was the idea of mentorship. Think about training and development as you getting an outside mentor in something you still need development in, or it's a growth edge for you. Don't
Yeah.
think about training differently, like however you got to do it so that you are in making the investment of time and resources to be in support of yourself. Be selfish about personal development. Be selfish about it, and others get to benefit from you
Yeah.
getting better. That's how this works.
Yeah.
And so many organizations have been making money in spite of themselves. That is not going to be the workplace of the future. The workplace of the future and the work person of the future, they want to say so. And they want emotionally intelligent leaders. They want emotionally mature leaders, because that as an expectation, not as just a nice to have. And so if your organization is needing some mentoring, you're needing some coaching, some consulting, whatever your support need is, reach out to us, connect with us across all platforms. And we look forward to connecting with you all soon. Bro, I appreciate you jumping up on this Saturday, connecting with me. And then we're going to keep it rolling from there, man. Until next time, folks, be well, lead well. We'll see you soon.